Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. In this show, we talk about kindness and how it has the power to change each and every one of us for the better, from the giver to the receiver. We're going to talk about all kinds of kindness matters, because kindness matters. Hello and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun, and you guys are so lucky. I've got the best guest today. Her name is Aimee. Her name is Aimee Kandrac, and she is a highly sought after public speaker and the founder of What Friends Do. Welcome to the show, Aimee.
Oh, Mike, it is such a pleasure to be here and joining you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for putting up with my shenanigans here today. So this is a kindness podcast, and when I read your story, I'm like, what could be more kind than that? Tell me, and it's bittersweet, but tell me the story of how you founded What Friends Do.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Yes, it is bittersweet, but it really is the heart of kindness. So we had a really, really dear family friend who was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer when she was 25.
Oh my God.
She was just sunshine. She was just one of those always happy people. And she was friends with everyone. She had friends all over the country from college, and just genuinely, every time you looked at Laura, there was a smile. And we were those best friends who weren't in the hospital every day, but were checking in with the family every day in the hospital and then relaying information to the masses. And because everyone wanted to know what was going on. How is Laura? How's everything going on? And what we found as we were sharing that information about Laura is that the response was twofold, always. The first was, please tell Laura and her family that I'm thinking about them and that I love them. And the second was always, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And we found that if we could give people something to do to help, they would. And they were actually honored to have the opportunity to do something for them, right?
Wow, sure.
And we're talking about, sometimes it was dropping off a basket of food for the family to eat while they were in the waiting room. Someone was in charge of walking her mom's dog every day so that the dog could still get out. All of these little things made the family feel supported and made those friends and loved ones feel more connected.
Sure. Now, had you ever done anything like this before? I mean, had you ever been in a position?
I had not been in the position to do a lot of that organizing. I had been the recipient. My dad had already passed away a few years before that. And my mom's friends are just, she's still good friends with all of those people who, came the night he died and sat in the kitchen with us and said, all right, we're here. This is what we're doing. And everyone kind of found their thing, right? Like everyone has a thing. And this is what really I have found after owning and running What Friends Do for so many years now, is that everyone has a gift of something that they can do. Not everyone wants to bring you a lasagna every week. Nobody
wants one of my lasagnas.
And I don't want to walk your dog. I also can't do stitches or bandage changes or wound care, but like my husband can. He's fine with that. And I will organize anything you need to have done, or I will make you cookies and I am happy to make you food. So everyone has a gift. Like one of my friends actually will go over and organize all your bills. she'll kind of go through the mail and say, because this is what she does, right? Everyone has a gift, and you can help someone in such what seems kind of nominal, but such huge, huge ways. And we're looking at this, what friends do does is usually we're in kind of those major life crises, those major life transition points when you're not at your fullest capability and your fullest capacity, and you do need the love and support from the people around you.
Right, absolutely. So now you were doing all of this for Laura, you and
Mm-hmm.
your friends and her team, as it
Yes.
were. And then you said afterwards, "Hey."
Hey, like a lot of other people could use this.
Hmm.
And with my mom and I were doing this together with my sister, and my mom called me and she said, "Hey, Aimee, I think what we're doing for Laura, we need to, we need to do this for other people." And I had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, and my husband was in medical school, and I was working full time. And I said, "Sure, that'd be great. We definitely have to start this." I
Oh my God.
and I took a coding class in like 7th grade, right? Like, so I didn't know how to build a website, um, anything like that.
Right.
And now we have about 75,000 active users every month from all over the world. People who go to our website, create a support team, and then provide care and support for someone going through a major event.
So the website is whatfriendsdo.com, right?
Correct.
And this is for people who they have a friend or a family member and they just want some help organizing all of the things that people can do to help
Mm-hmm.
the friend or the family. I was just looking over it, and it's like, this is amazing because you've got there a calendar
Mm-hmm.
for the I guess the leader.
So, the leader, the organizer, puts the needs on there. Maybe it's meals or dog walking or transportation to and from appointments, and then your friends and your support team can log in and say, "Oh, I'm free on Thursday at 2 o'clock. I would love to be able to drive you back and forth from an appointment." That's what I
Yeah,
will do.
this seems like such a common sense. This is one of those websites that you're like, how did this not exist before?
Right?
Because it seems so commonsensical. Is that a word?
It is
I could
today.
create it. Bah. Okay. I mean, it seems so. I mean, I've just said I mean like 5 times, but what a great tool. Because I
Thanks.
think when a lot of people, when they have this situation and they, something happens to Aunt Joan or what have you, or Timmy or whoever, and everything's kind of maybe disorganized. One person's getting tons of calls and what do you need?
Well,
And they could just log onto your website, find out what is needed.
yes. So, Mike, here's what I found is that it's actually way more complicated than that.
Oh,
Because so I've built what I think is this fantastic website, easy to use. We've already talked about, okay, great. Everybody needs like common sense. We need this. But this is the kicker or the sticking point. People are really uncomfortable accepting help.
oh,
People can be really uncomfortable even knowing what kind of help they might need. And
hmm,
so getting that transition to saying, "You know what? Yes, I that would be so nice if you could bring my trash cans in because I have a broken foot and I can't walk." You know?
right.
Um but I'm in the Midwest, and we are so used to, we just do it ourselves, and,
Yes, that
and
Midwest stoicism.
it is. But then I find also on the coasts, people are saying, well, it wouldn't occur to me to ever burden someone else with helping me. Right? So
Yeah.
this is one of the biggest challenges that I see, and my next year's kind of goal and resolution and is to try to break down the stigma of asking for help and receiving help, because it feels weird at first.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, I probably would be the last one to ask for help.
Mhm.
But if somebody took the initiative and
That's
said,
right.
Joe's coming over tomorrow and he's walking your dog for you. No ifs, no ands, no buts. It's happening. Or somebody showed up with food.
Yes.
You know, you in the same way that as a Midwesterner or anybody else really doesn't want to ask for help, we also feel funny about turning it down.
We do feel funny about turning it down because you've already made the commitment. Okay, well, I don't want to. Yes. So one of the things that I am, so our business is actually more, because it's really hard to make money and enough money to keep a website alive like this, because it is pretty complex on the back end.
Sure.
So we actually sell this into healthcare providers, and we allow them to have their own version of this website. And I don't mean this as like a sales thing, but let me tell you what I'm working on, because I think this is the kindness piece that is really missing in healthcare right now. And we are offering a concierge to be that person to say, hey, Mike, your friends are coming over to walk the dog tomorrow.
Oh.
Because you've filled out this little, like, we've talked to you, you've agreed to have this.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can focus on healing and your friends can help you.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you're basically licensing it to healthcare systems, is that it?
That's correct.
Wow, that's a great idea.
License, and then giving them that bossy older sister. I'm calling it a concierge, but let's be real.
Let's call it what it is.
It's really that, that
That's
aunt
funny.
or someone who's like, okay, this is what you need. This is the kind of help you need, and these are the people who are already coming to help you with it.
Whether you like it or not.
Because when they're doing something nice for you, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this a lot on your podcast, like, it feels good.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
There's
That dopamine hit.
Dopamine hit. And when you receive something nice, it
Same
feels
thing.
good too.
Yep.
So we are healing both of these people. Everybody's feeling better about it. And that person who might have been like burdened with having to do all of the other things no longer has that burden, because you've got other people coming in to support you, and you're creating human connection.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, the CDC just came out the other day and talked about how damaging loneliness is, and it's an epidemic now.
Yes, it is.
And actually, this kind of takes care of that a little bit, does it not?
I think so. I definitely think so. At least it's a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. That's so cool. That's so cool. But then you took this whole thing a step further and you started a podcast.
I did start a podcast.
Look at you, because you just weren't busy enough raising 2 kids and starting a business.
Right. So I decided to start a podcast, and I was talking with a friend because I had a draft of a book that I've been sitting on for like 2 years, and I was trying to like figure out how I was going to get it done, and she said, Aimee, why don't you start a podcast? And I realize now I'm clearly a talker and not a writer. So the podcast makes so much more sense. But
you can do both.
well, this is true. This is very true. So I have a podcast called Kitchen Chats because when something major in life happens, you gather in the kitchen with your friends and your family, and you figure out the next steps.
Absolutely true.
And so that's what we talk about on Kitchen Chats. We have those conversations.
I was listening to a few of the episodes today. You spoke with a gentleman from the military.
Oh, yes, a former Survivor TV show star.
How did you get that big guest?
He and my podcast producer go to the same coffee shop.
Oh, shut up. See, this may be why I haven't landed that nationally known guest yet, is because I don't go out of the house ever.
Well,
so, I mean, I'm still in like quarantine mode.
Yeah, well, that's okay. You can talk to everyone.
I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is I've never had COVID. The bad news is nobody knows I'm alive.
Well, we're changing that now with this kindness, because you're spreading your kindness from inside the house, and that's great.
Yeah. No, but that's awesome. And that was a great episode. And it kind of fits in with mine that dropped today from a woman who has very deep roots in the military, and just how to be kinder to our active duty veteran, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
How, and yeah, so that was cool.
Oh, fun. So one thing that I do, I don't know, in every episode of my podcast, I ask each of my guests at the very end 2 questions. And it's the same 2 questions for everyone. And
see, it's going to be so obvious now if I ask you these questions at the end, so I won't. But go ahead.
Shoot. Well, no. Mike, actually, can I ask you these questions?
Oh, boy. I did not know there was going to be a pop quiz, Aimee. Go ahead.
Surprise, your guest is interviewing you. This is what happens when you have a podcast host on.
This is the funnest podcast I've ever had. Go. Yeah, please, go for it.
So I'm talking to people, obviously about kindness, but also like big life events. So, Mike, what is your favorite thing to do for someone when they're experiencing any sort of major thing in their life? What's your go-to? What do you do?
I am a big cookie maker. I make a mean chocolate chip cookie.
We're gonna have to have a little competition here, and not competition, but I am like a number 1 rated cookie maker, chocolate chip cookie maker, also.
Number 1 rated by whom?
I have pretty much all of the high school kids in my head.
Well, that beats mine.
But anyway.
Yeah, no, I love to make cookies for people.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. And then the last question, Mike, is that I ask people, and then I'll let you continue to interview me.
Okay, that's fine. No, you go ahead.
What is the nicest thing anyone ever has done for you when you've been in any kind of space where you could use some help?
It's really, really hard to pick one, because I have been so blessed with kindness from people just voluntarily promoting this podcast or a book I wrote. I had one person just out of the blue wrote an Amazon review for a book I wrote. I was like, I never asked for it, because we're back to that whole we don't ask for help thing, right?
Right.
I never asked for it. It took me by surprise, but it was the best kindness I had received in such a long time. And then that, of course, that probably would be number 2. Number 1 would be my wife saying yes.
Oh, that's pretty amazing.
It is. I mean, that was the biggest kindness. I mean, she took me and my kid. Who knew? What a great kindness that was.
Well, I bet she got a little bit in return as well.
Headaches, snoring. I don't know. It seems like kind of a lopsided option, but
But maybe some chocolate chip cookies every once in a while.
oh, she does get chocolate. Yeah.
Good.
It's fun. We have a thing. I'll bake chocolate chip cookies like every 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and the recipe I use makes 4 dozen cookies, and then we'll just eat a couple of them at night instead of a bowl of cereal or a bowl of ice cream while we're watching TV before bed or whatever. We'll have a couple of cookies, and that'll last us a couple weeks. Every time I bake, though, she gets the first cookie.
Oh, that's so nice.
Always. And every single time she goes, best cookie ever.
That's great.
I'm starting to doubt that. I mean, she says it every single time, but...
Well, that's a little more kind than my husband, who always gets the first cookie. And he always says, well, it's pretty good, but you might need to try again in a week.
Manipulation.
I know.
Wow.
I know. Not as nice.
No, but it keeps you on your toes and keeps you motivated, right?
Right.
So this whole thing, I absolutely love this. And I love the concept behind your podcast, because it's true. When something big happens, we gather as a family or as friends, and we figure it out.
Right.
And we figure out what we're going to do. And that's, that's awesome.
And it's often hard to get into the emotion sometimes, and hard to move around the emotion sometimes.
Yeah.
But the connection can start to happen to get to the emotion when you can start with the logistics. Now, this is not always the case, right? Like, so on each of my podcasts, we talk about different topics, but sometimes we'll just talk about, okay, like, let's just figure out the logistics about who needs to get where, what needs to happen, how can we as your friends and loved ones take things off of your plate so that you can have capacity to feel what's going on.
Right. Yeah, you can sit down and go, okay, we have doctor's appointments this day, at this times. And, how are we going to get you there?
Right.
Or, yeah, that's awesome. And I don't know anybody really in my life that would be that organized. And your website helps immensely with that.
Right. I mean, we've had a lot of years and seen a lot of different situations so that we can help people through this, right? It's not like, oh, I've just thought of everything. By sitting down all at once, you can do that. No, it's because we've helped thousands of people, and we can see this is something that works well. This is something that people in similar situations have benefited from.
Right.
And so trying to spread that kindness out to everyone by saying, we've learned this. You don't need to reinvent the hard thought process of figuring this out. Let us help you.
Yeah. I remember when my mom passed in 2015, my brother, I lived here in a suburb of Minneapolis, and she was here too. But my brother was in Montana. And so, of course, he came out right away. But when we were planning the funeral, we knew what Mom wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, so the funeral's going to be this day at this time. And I think one of my cousins said, are you going to have a lunch after? I'm like, what, I have to feed him too?
Right.
I joke, I jest.
No.
I had no idea. I'm like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
You hadn't thought about it, and you were in a stage of grief, right? Like, you have this shock to your whole being where you've never, ever had a day without your mom, obviously.
Exactly. For
your whole life. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you shouldn't have to think through all of that by yourself.
It was just, cousins just really stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Yeah, the things you don't think of because you don't have to think about them until you need to do, until
Until
you need to.
right. And that's where I hope that What Friends Do can come in as a guide, as a partner, as an assistant to say, please let us help your friends help you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, this has been the funnest podcast I've ever done, Aimee. No offense to
you're
some of
just
my
being,
other guests or upcoming guests. The bar is high now. Let me just say that.
oh,
But and for your kindness, and I just am absolutely overwhelmed with it. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I know it was a struggle.
well, if only it's usually the podcasters who can't get the equipment working. Let's just say that. don't let's not mention me in tech.
No, I'm not
No.
disparaging you at all.
No. I appreciate it, Mike. I am so grateful for the opportunity to connect with you.
It's awesome. Was it Facebook group?
It was. And I think you were one of the first.
Facebook.
I think it was one of the first things that I responded to. Like I happened upon this group somehow, and
Nice.
I saw your request, and I was like, I think I could fit that.
I could do that.
That one might work.
And you did, and you fit perfectly like a glove.
Oh, thanks, Mike. I can't wait to hear more stories on kindness.
Oh, you're going to hear lots of them, hopefully.
You will. We will.
Fantastic. You have a fantastic weekend.
Thanks.
Memorial Day weekend, right?
Yeah. I'm excited.
Grilling? Chilling?
Well, I'm in Indianapolis and it is race weekend. That is what it is called.
Oh, I forgot.
So it is race weekend, and I actually do not go to the race, but I will go to the garden store and buy all of my garden things because no one else will be there because everyone else is at the race.
Perfect. Yeah, I know. I think we start planting here usually May, but even that is sometimes kind of a crapshoot because you could still get a hard freeze after Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So, but everything's in the ground for better or for worse now. The lilacs are blooming, and that, as my friend Lisa Domino White would say, that's my burst of joy. I opened the window the other day and I'm like,
that's nice.
So, have a fantastic weekend, Aimee. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
It was so great to have Aimee Kandrac on the show today. I really admire her work ethic and all the ways that she displays kindness from her business to her personal life. I think I'm going to have to send out some cookies, and we're just going to have a cookie taste off, maybe. Anyway, if you are interested in Aimee's website or her podcast, the links will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for the gift of your time listening to the show today. And please remember to be that person who roots for others, who tells a stranger that they look amazing, and encourages others to believe in themselves and their dreams. I am Mike Rathbun, and you have been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. Until next time.